big reason why I think people are better than they used to be is mainly that hardware has gotten better and that the games are more defined than they used to be. And also, there's less adversity and people are more accepting of playing games. Like, it's a competitive nature and people getting better at them is, I think, a big part that people aren't just dismissing it, right away. Like, hey, you can actually make a career out of this. It's not a joke, really. It's a lot more realistic. Like, you don't have to. Before there wasn't as many opportunities. You can't say that 12 years ago, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, even, or hell, just 5 years ago. I mean, there wasn't nearly as many options to make money off of games, things like that. Like, there's more games nowadays, and also there's more opportunities just in general, like streaming. So many outlets to get money that simply wasn't present just so many years ago. And I think that's why people keep getting better, is because there's less mental acrobatics and stuff to juggle, so they don't have as much mental strain, and they have more time to play because they can take it more seriously. Because, hey, I don't have to work this job if I work my ass off and get good tournament results, or if I stream, then I can make that my job. So then you can just focus on what you want to do. These newer, gamers and stuff like that have the ability to just hop in and play it like a full-time job instead of having to balance a job and all that as much. They can just put more effort into it. And a thing that comes with that is, like, now they have more effort, and then they have better hardware, so that way there's less latency and lag and all that stuff. And even despite that, it's easier to pick up a mouse and keyboard or a controller or anything nowadays, because controllers, keyboards, and mice have gotten better. So, and they're cheaper too, so you don't have to spend as much money to get a good keyboard and mouse. You can buy a cheap SteelSeries rival for like $30, and it'll perform better than any mouse 10 years ago. And it's only $30. Even the like $100+ mice 10 years ago don't perform nearly as well as a $30 mouse nowadays. So it's just easier to get that equipment, and it just works so much better. Like, it's just, there's less adapting that you have to do. Like, used to, you kind of had to adapt to hardware to get good with it, but nowadays there's so much more fluid and easier to use. Because, like, if you think about many years ago, like the mouse ball, like you had to get used to how to use a mouse ball.
Yeah,
Nowadays you have like laser and optical sensors and probably more stuff in the near future. But it's like so much easier to pick that up than the bowling ball. And you don't have to have a specific mouse pad or anything. Like, you don't need all this extra stuff to be the best that you don't have to have that special mouse pad, that special surface that you used to with those balls. So, like, you don't have to learn that, okay, this mouse pad is better than this one because it works better with my ball mouse. Okay, this table sucks because discrepancy in the surface or whatever. Like, I mean, there's so many things that you don't have to worry about. Keyboards, they're not as mushy. Mechanical keyboards exist and they're cheap now, cheaper. You can buy a mechanical keyboard for next to nothing in comparison to what it was, and 144 hertz and above exists, and it's pretty cheap. You can buy a 144 hertz monitor for about the same price as a monitor, any monitor at all was like 10 years ago. Your run-of-the-mill 1080p monitor 8 years ago was about the same cost as a 144 hertz monitor now. If not, it's cheaper for 140 hertz now than probably those monitors were even. And OS has got better, like Windows has gotten better. I mean, you can argue Windows 7's better, but I mean, even if you say that, there's been updates to Windows 7 and more software released, and for Windows 10 as well that it has made it better for gaming and stuff like that. There's less little lag and input latencies in computers in general because better frame rates, better hardware, better rendering technology, better USB hubs like USB 3 exists, USB 2.0 exists like back in the day, like when people played back in like 2000, 4 or something. USB 1 was the common thing and has a lot more latency than USB 2 or 3. Also, hard drives have gotten faster, so load times are less, so people have more time to play, games. Like, you don't have to load in as much. Internet has gotten better, so there's less latency. So whenever you play, you don't have as much of a disadvantage. And you don't have to learn how to how to play on 70 ping, because now you got like 20. And also, there's just more games, so you can adapt faster. So, there's more fighting games than there used to be. So you didn't just play Street Fighter and then get good at Street Fighter. You have Tekken, you have Street Fighter, you have Marvel versus Capcom, you have Smash, you have so many other games that you can play and get good at and then transfer those skills over. There's more competitive scenes and stuff, so there's more competitiveness in general. So players are getting into games with more competitive mindsets because there's more incentive nowadays than there used to be. Like, streaming is more prevalent and all this stuff, so people want to get good more than ever because they're like, hey, I can make a job out of this, I can make money off of this, I can become popular. Like, it's easier to become popular nowadays and stuff, and making yourself better helps accentuate that. And that's a big reason I think people are getting better, is because there's just more incentives and hardware's gotten better, so you don't have to learn how to play with crap as much as you did before. So I think that's why players are getting better in